And you can take that in. And then even if a month later you go back to that replay, your experience is going to be different. I can't tell you how, but it is going to be different. And don't be disappointed if it is less than your first time.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. Because as you're going to these practices and you're doing work or you're holding space or you're having conversation, you don't realize there's an onion layer that's coming off.
Yeah.
And you've had something come off today already. You just hadn't realized it yet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And you'll notice it in a day or two, maybe later on today. I can't tell you that either, but you're going to know it, right? And that's the power of all this work, is because you're continually working on you.
Yeah.
What makes you happy.
You know what I think it was? Is that it's the whole I'm not capable. Like that's when you suggested that I do the anchoring process, that hold back. It wasn't that I didn't know how to do it. It was this like hesitation and fear of like, oh, I'm not capable, and it's total bullshit. I am capable.
Yeah.
And so it's just like,
put it in your lenses.
I just choose to do it.
Not as a choice, but as one of your top things. I give permission. I am allowed to be capable. It's just one of your top things, right? Which supports your lenses. I allow myself to be capable. I allow myself to be happy. And actually, allow myself to be happy is what I put in my lenses a little over 2 weeks ago, because I had a point where I turned and I said, today's the first day of the rest of my life. And then, so today actually, I'll go back here, is the 16th day of the rest of my life. And I put that in my wins. I put in my wins also the number of days of lenses I have done too.
I can just structure a facilitation of people creating their own lenses or whatever process they want to create.
Right, personalizing it. One of the things I was telling Jesse what I started doing, because I have my lens, I have my choices, I have my top, I have my wins, I have things I want to do, and my gratitude. My gratitude sometimes gets put on at the end of the day, because it's a lens that is continually being added to throughout the day as well. Just because you wrote it in the morning doesn't mean you don't have to add to it later on. My wins get added on as I go. But in the column of the margin or at the top, I get this aha moment of in something inspirational. I write it on that day of that lens in the margin, an idea that I want to do, something, a product that I want to develop. I write it in my margin in that lens, so then it becomes a focus for that day, a focus point, and then I build from that. Anyway, so there's a bunch of scribbly writing at the bottom, okay?
Cool.
And that is something that I came up with a realization, and where I got into my end result, the emotion of the end result, and I had to come up with a sentence to describe what I would say to that self now. And so I wrote that sentence down. So on November 6th, I did my lenses. So
you mean your future self?
Yeah, what my future self would tell me now, right? A sentence of
where
I am there. Yeah. So then there's one from a couple days ago, and just across the bottom here was my aha moment of the series of. So I'm taking a brewmaster course right now.
Okay.
And I came up with a 3 brew series, like 3 beers, the names, and I don't know yet what they're going to taste like, but I have the names already selected for the series, and a little bit of tweaking will be required. But the theme of that I put down on November 6th, 3 brews, and this is what I want to call them. And it's about my journey. It's to describe my journey. So one is do a 180. Another one's hitting rock bottom. But I'm not sure about hitting rock bottom. The word hitting, I'm going to change that one. And the other one would be rise above it. And to come up with 3 flavors of beer that actually transition from one to the other and kind of give that sensation of any of those 3 statements as well. Is my vision on that one. So I write it down. It's all part of your lenses, because it's all part of your focus. And if somebody has come up with those names, I don't care. I'll come up with good ones again. But the thought process behind it, the theory behind it is still there. To do a series of 3 beers, and it's to describe my journey.
Craig, here's the vision I connect into, is that I think it was in one of the Land of Plenties. It may have been my first one that I sat in, that I went through. And what showed up for me is like at the end was I'm sitting on the porch, rocking, drinking my lemonade with my best and greatest friends.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I ask, like, what are we celebrating? Why are we here? Like, what does this mean, right? It's like asking the intuition. It says you've closed the chapter. Well, that doesn't help me, right? What do you mean, did I close the chapter? And it says you've closed the chapter on survival.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then it's like, well, then what do I look for? Like, so like that's done, like that's the past now. And it's like, then what? And it says like thriving. It's like being human, loving life, being happy, whatever you want to choose, but it's for your kids. It's for your kids.
Yes.
How to create is for my kids.
And for generations to come.
Yes.
Right.
That is our language. That is the problem with our language, is that we have to name something to bring it into existence, and how we orient to it is no longer effective.
It's wordage, and it's a description of what we intuitively know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the intuition doesn't really speak in words so
Mm.
much. It's there, you know.
Yes. Yeah, it's more of a feeling that has, and part of this work is to slow down the mind so that we can
Differentiate.
what does that picture mean? Right? I can ask, like, oh, that's a book, that's a chapter, that's closing. What does that mean? And it's looking towards the future. And what do I see running away from me are my kids? Ah, gotcha. Worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
But it is
Mm.
that. It is that. And it's like the power is in that. You set, Will, that Annette put for you.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be in that, and I'm gonna demonstrate what I would do into that question. Rather than talk about it, let's do it, which is what I say, which is what I create to be the value of this. I don't know the new word yet, but new coaching, new practice, new living. Yeah. And it's so like, what's my true choice today? It's like I choose to be happy. Yeah. I choose to be happy. And I'm holding my anchor to that as I step into all the things like I'm celebrating for yesterday that I'm happy. I'm celebrating the creation of this morning. That made me happy. And what about that made me happy was like, oh, being able to pull out people's passions, their purposes, put attention, put color on them, step into feeling, having that, seeing it so that they have a choice. And then to teach people how to see their dysfunctional patterns, not only in themselves, but to see it in themselves first, and then to see it in their market, in their purpose, in their customers, the clients, the relationships, whatever it is, so that they can structure a valuable offer and live from abundance, live as thriving, living in love as a collective through the transition. So that's what I live as. Happy Profits today. And that's my true choice for today. And then I say, well, why can't I have that? And then that's just a space to open up questions, to be like, oh, is there resistance, or what could I do about it?